Hey, what's up guys, Brad here. So today we have another video in our Duel Links What If series, taking a look at Duke Devlin. If he came to Duel Links, how would he come, what cards would he have, what skills could he have, that kind of thing. So before we get into this, let me know down below what character you want to see me do next. I already have an idea for what I want to do, but I would like to do at least one of these per week before we round up the year because, let's be honest, who knows if we're going to be here in 2020 and I want to get some of this content out for you guys. So without further ado, let's take a look at Duke Devlin and see how he can come to Duel Links. So if you have no idea who Duke is, he is a character introduced in Duel Monsters Season 1 towards the end of it. Basically, he's the inventor of Dungeon Dice Monsters, another game that they kind of used as a filler arc for Yu-Gi-Oh! And that was a whole 2-3 episode kind of stint. And then Duke in Battle City became part of the main crew of Yugi's gang or whatever. And he was a supporting character. He played a kind of a big role in developing the friendship between Joey and Tristan and Serenity, so he did play a pretty vital part in, developing the characters of other characters in the show. So I do always have quite a bit of a fond spot for Duke, and I feel like he's one of the fan favorite characters that doesn't get enough love. Like, I think people really would have wanted Duke over Tristan, and we've seen Tristan have voice lines for Duke in the game files, so it's very likely he's coming at some point, but we don't know when. Now, I think Duke will come as his Dark Side Dimensions form, and that's because we haven't really seen any evidence of Konami wanting to give any love to the previous world of DM. Like, since Lumos and Umbra, we haven't really had any DM characters since then, and so I feel like Duke in his DSOD attire, which I think is a lot better, his design is a lot better in DSOD. When it comes to Duel Links, that could be a pretty good way of going about it, and I feel like there could be some lore here in that Kaiba has allowed Duke to test his new version of Dungeon Dice Monsters in a Duel Links and Duel World and see what people think about it, and that's kind of how you get a little bit of plot you'd get, and it kind of just adds to the world of DSOD, which we didn't see in the movie, because in the movie Duke was working, I think part-time, with his dad at the restaurant, so that could be a little bit of a fun conversation dialogue they have to kind of introduce us to Duke and who he is as a person. Now, for what the event will be, of course, a roaming event first of all, and then an unlock event later. The unlock event I think is going to be very similar to Monster World RPG. The way I've thought of it up is that we'll collect summon dice to participate in the Dungeon Dice Monsters game, and this game works very similarly to the Monster World RPG event, so instead of getting a random amount of dice from being a duelist in Duel World, you'll get a dice number that corresponds to the duel assessment score you got. So there's a little bit of metagame involved there in that if you want a high level dice, you will then have to farm them for 8k and get 8,000 score. If you want a low level dice, just do an auto duel and get 3.5k, 4k or whatever, and get a level 3 or level 4 dice. And so these dice will be used in the event to summon monsters and to make moves on the board. Again, very similar to the Dungeon Dice Monsters game, and you'll essentially play out 3 or 4 different, DDM games across like a stage, and then you'll then level up to the next rank, and then to the next rank, and then after that it'll be like an infinite stage. So kind of bringing the best of the Tag Duel Tournament and the Monster World RPG event into one. Now for DDM, each of the playing spaces is going to be the same, and every time you roll a summon dice, you can randomly summon a monster from your current event deck. So again, taking something from the Gladiator Island, the whole concept of an event deck, you randomly summon a monster. So say I rolled a level 4 dice, then I would then summon a level 4 to the field, and you'll work towards your opponent's health points, and once you get to that battle, or once there's a battle between 2 monsters, it will do the whole tabletop RPG thing, where you just had the 2 sprites, they attacked each other, they kept going back and forward, and one would win, one would lose. But then when you get to the opponent's heart point, you'll then participate in a proper duel against that character, and it'll be a full 8,000 life point duel, just to make things a bit more harder and a bit more fun. And so this event will really stray away from you playing Yu-Gi-Oh until the very end, whereas I feel like with the tabletop RPG event, you were kind of doing both at the same time, and you never really had a chance to cool down, and so it kind of felt a bit tedious. So I feel like this is a bit of a benefit system of just having, the DDM stuff be the main core of it, and then when you get towards the kind of the boss part of it, then you have the duel, and then you can kind of work your way into getting Duke. And I'm guessing for like beating like all 3 of the first stage characters, or of the second stage, you'll unlock Duke, and unlock some pretty cool rewards from there. Didn't really think too much else about that, but I feel like an event in Duel Links where we don't duel might be something really cool. So what about his cards? Now Duke has 2 real aces used in the anime, Strike Ninja, which he did use, but we will have that in Duel Links via box, so that's kind of out of the question. However, we could then make a case for him bringing in more ninja support, because we saw Sarah bring Constellas and Moko bring Thunder Dragon, so there's a precedent there for them to bring non-character archetype cards via their level up, so they could do that. But more likely, the ultra rare will be Orgoth the Relentless. So this is a level 7 warrior, effect monster 2500, 2450. Once per turn during your main phase, you can roll a 6-sided die 3 times Then this card gains attack defense equal to the number times 100. So, 6 times, that's basically maximum of 1800 attack points onto this card. Then, if two of the results were the same, you apply one of the following effects based on the number it was, and if all the results were the same, you get all 3 of these effects. So, this card, I think, will be the main deck you are. Not sure how many copies we could get of it, at least 1 obviously, but it might be a little bit too cheesy for 3 copies. So if you roll 2 1s or 2 2s, this card can't be destroyed by battle or card effects till the end of your opponent's next turn. If you roll 2 3s or 2 4s, you can draw 2 cards to get a pot of greed, and if you roll 2 5s, 2 6s, this card can attack directly this turn, so there is a potential for an OTK play with this card, which would be pretty cool to see if people can work that out and work out a deck that can make this card super consistent, because this card came out of TCG about a year and a half ago and hasn't seen too much play, so if Duel Links can make a seat play, that'd be pretty cool. Now, Duke has a ton of anime-only cards. In fact, he only ever has like 2 of his main cards printed in the TCG, so because we're getting Blair, and she's bringing some strap anime cards, that's all we know we're getting, I thought, why not bring 2 more anime cards to his event? This will be for his roaming event first of all. We have Diamond Head Dragon, a level 8 dragon, 0/2800, cannot be normal summoned or set, must be special summoned with Adamantine Sword Revival, and can't be special by the ways. This card's attack becomes equal to the attack of the troop monster, plus 1000, and what does Adamantine do? Well, Adamantine is a quick play spell card of, when a dragon is special from the graveyard, you contribute it, then special 1 Diamond Head Dragon from your deck, in phase of attack position, to the controller of the special summon dragon type monster side of the field. So if your opponent special the monster and you chain this, your opponent would then get that dragon, but you would then get rid of their dragon. So it can kind of be used to remove a big monster on board, like say for some reason, they went into like a Stardust Dragon, or they went into a Red Dragon Archfiend, or a Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, or something stupid, like a Neo Blue Ultimate Dragon, or something like that, if that ever comes, meta relevant or something. This could be used to kind of get around that, but then you do also gain 1000 attack points onto that type of monster, so it'd be even bigger. So really, it's really only useful for your deck, and I feel like this with Blue Eyes Silver's Cry could be a ton of fun. Now for some other cards you could drop, we have a bunch of vanillas, because Konami do like giving us some vanillas. We have Dark Assailant and Yoranzo, 2 vanilla monsters he used during his tenure in the show, and we also have a Dice Armadillo, a card that hasn't been printed in English yet, but knowing Konami like their puns and like their blatantly obvious references, Dice card, Duke, they should probably give this in the event with Duke. Now I feel like Duke is going to be very similar to Scud in that he'll have a very good ultra rare trap card, limited to 1, and I think that's going to be Dice Nide, a continuous trap card. Each time your opponent special summons a monsters, roll a 6-sided die, and then return all of those monsters special summoned to the hand with a current level that's the same as the result. So let's say your opponent summoned a Shien from the extra deck. If they don't roll a 5, then it stays on the field. If they roll a 5, it gets bounced back to the hand. So this could be a very cheesy out for a lot of decks, and it's just generic, can be splashed to anything, and if you have a skill that influences the odds of you rolling a certain number, you can then best prepare for a certain matchup using this card. So I feel like it's going to be pretty tilting, but it could be pretty fun as well, and could be a fun way to deal with some special summon heavy decks. Then for the last 3 cards, we're going down the ninja route because I couldn't really find anything else Duke would have. We have White Dragon Ninja level 7, 27, 1200, can't be specialed except with the effects of a Ninjutsu Arts card. Spell or traps you control, can't be destroyed by card effects, it's blanket protection for your back row. Very, very nice, this card can be targeted, so you have to remove this card first, then go in for your opponent's back row. But I don't think it's too broken, and Ninja's doing some more support. There's not many cards that can come, like there's Ninja Grandmaster Hanzo, but he's a bit too strong for Duel Links right now, and especially when we get into the Xyz era, gonna make that even more broken. We have Fuma Shuriken, a card I thought was in Duel Links, but it's not. It's an equipped spell card, equipped only to a ninja monster. It gains 700 attack points, and when it's card sent from the field to his graveyard, inflicts 700 damage to your opponent. I know Konami don't like burn, but this card really won't see play because ninjas don't see play, and it's just 700 attack point gain is okay, but when you have skills like Ties the Bind, it kind of nullifies the gain of only 1 monster, so okay card, but nothing special. And then we have Armor Ninjutsu Art of Frost Mist, a continuous trap card. When a monster special summons your opponent's field, if you control a ninja, halve the current attack of that special summon monsters, so again, a card that helps combat special summon heavy decks, which the meta is full of right now. This card would be kind of insane against Black Wings. Of course, they could then pop it with Valkyrie, but it still does affect them in some way and would make the whole getting a attack reduction with Gale a bit less effective. So again, very, very nice card, and I feel like if Duke came to Duel Links, that all of these would kind of be fair enough for him to bring, and again, it would be pretty cool to see what Konami does decide to do. Now, on to the last part of the video, and that's the skills. So for Duke skills, my first thought was to go with a skill for Summon Dice, which upon talking with one of my friends Sam, would be a very bad idea because Summon Dice is a powerful card in TCG, and even if it was a once per duel skill that was tied behind losing a certain amount of life points, it would still be ridiculously broken. I'll leave the card on screen right now for you to see and to read. This card just has no real downside. So honestly, I'm gonna kind of hold on this one. It is one of Duke's only cards printed in the TCG, a very, very good card, but beyond that, it's still ridiculously broken. Even if it was a skill, it just does way too much, and I couldn't really think of how you would change it to make it a bit more fair and to do kind of less, but still have a decent amount of value. So that's why we're glossing over Summon Dice for the moment. Now for Duke skills, I kind of wanted to go down the route of taking some good current skills or skills from the past and inflicting a random element with them. So we have Dice That Bind. This combines Ties That Bind, a very generically used skill, but mishmashes it with the probability of Summon Dice. So if you were to roll a 1 or 2, all your monsters gain plus 100 attack points. If a 3 or 4, all monsters gain plus 200. A 5 or 6, all monsters gain plus 300. So it would work out that on average you have a higher chance, if you have one monster on the field, of gaining a higher attack boost than you do with using Ties That Bind. But if you have 3 monsters on the field, then there's a lower chance of you getting the same boost. So in certain circumstances, in certain decks, this could be a better skill than Ties That Bind. That's my logic behind it. It might not work out that way, but I think that'd be pretty cool. Then we have Dimension the Dice. When your life points are reduced by 1500, roll a 6-sided die, add one monster from your deck to your hand with the same level as the result, once per turn skill and twice per duel. This is a generic search skill for any card in the game. Very, very powerful skill. Obviously, a random elements, if you roll a 2, then maybe you don't get anything, or maybe you want to make sure you have at least one card of every level in your deck to kind of make sure the skill goes live. This could search out for your Kite Roids or for a hand trap or something, so depending on what you roll, could be a very, very good thing, but again, it's kind of like a Destiny draw skill, but a lot more random. Then we have He's Trained, kind of quoting a line from the movie like they've been doing with the DSOD skills. Target one warrior, beast warrior you control. This turn it can attack your opponent directly, but any bad damage inflicted is halved, so it works as like a Cyber Dark Edge. I feel like that's not too bad of a skill, a very, very easy skill to implement, and again, could be a multiple times per duel skill. Who knows where they would go down with that route, but I think that's pretty fair. And so with that, he'd be very similar to Joey in terms of drop skills. Roll and boost and reinforcements are skills that don't see much play, but again fit in with Duke's deck theme and character style, so I feel like they would share some similarities there. He'd probably have Draw Sense low level, and also Draw Sense Earth, and some other warrior based skills. And finally we have Dice Dungeon. This is an anime only field spell used during the Virtual World arc, but I feel like this is a prime candidate for a skill, but I'm not too sure how to implement, so I'm going to leave it up to you guys to see what you can think about it. So this card reads, during the battle phase, each player selects one face of a tap position monster they control, each player rolls a 6-sided die, then your monster on the field gains the following effect according to result. If it's a 1, your monster loses 1000 attack. If it's a 2, your monster gains 1000 attack. If it's 3, your monster attack points become 0. If it's 4, their attack becomes 2000. If it's 5, the attack is halved. If it's 6, the attack points are doubled. This just introduces a huge random element to the game in the battle phase, and I feel like having this as a twice per duel skill would be pretty interesting, because you could really go balls to the wall and just like, say your opponent has a really big monster on board, you could risk it all and hope they get the halving or the 0 attack point skill, or even the 1000 minus is going to be a bit of a big benefit. And if you have more than one monster on the field, then you're pretty good anyway, because you'll be able to plan ahead and see what you want to do with regard to that battle. So I personally would like Dice Dungeon to come to the game. I feel like this also would be used for the backdrop of Duke's Duel, or maybe like an animated version of Summon Dice would be like the backdrop. That'd be pretty cool to have all the rocks floating around the dice and that endless vortex kind of thing. That'd be pretty cool. But yeah, that's where my head was for Duke. I have a lot better ideas in plan for the next character who, if you see my community post last week, you'll know who I teased and you guys wanted to see more, so I thought, let's do this video first, see how it does, and then build up hype for the next one, which will probably be out sometime next week. If you guys did enjoy that, let me know what you think of Duke, if he should come to Duel Links, and what cards he should bring, and skills, etc. And if there's any other character you want to see me do, then be sure to let me know down below, because I will try and do at least one more a week before we get to the end of the year, and then maybe there'll be a Christmas special, who knows. Anyway, thanks for watching, I'll see you all in the next Duel Links video. See you then.